Now, she was very unskilled at social media. I taught her the basics of social media, which changed her whole way of creating leads. Because she went from not having any leads to where she had more leads than time. Changed her whole situation. Then in 2012, she attracted 3 women that changed the whole face of her business, and she had 3 existing women that changed the whole face of her business, which is 3 to 5 principle. This is where you start to bring 3 to 5 people together for a common cause. That's in the 20% that breaks down to 4%. That's what happened to her. What's that?
Who's in? You said, who's in with us?
Is it funny?
No, it's awesome.
It's good. In emotional discipline, you learn not to laugh when you're talking about a result, because if you laugh when you're talking about a result, you're checking out. It means your unconscious doesn't believe it. 2 kinds of laughter: anxiety laughter and joy laughter. But when you laugh for nothing, you're laughing to undo what you just received, or to check out. Did you receive that, Carolyn?
Yes.
What would you like to ask me, Carolyn? This is your day. This is your year, isn't it? Just say it. Up here, Carolyn. Jeff, no, not you can sit there. Because you're leaving your body is why
I'm just soaking it all in, Jeffrey.
All right, so what would you like to ask me? Jeff, what I'd like to ask you. So here's something I will teach all of you.
Yeah.
Be prepared. If someone calls on you, answer quickly. Because if not, if you all of a sudden check out, this represents your past, right, Simon?
Yes.
What would you like to ask me, Simon?
How do I get past my hesitation to speak of what I'm learning about?
So, Daryl, I'll teach you a little bit in communication style, right? When you ask people questions, watch for the key word in every sentence. The key word in his sentence was hesitation. So as he's speaking,
hesitated.
I know, but hold on, just listen. The key word was hesitation. So you wanted to know about asking, right? So he didn't give me a lot to work with, but he gave me one word, right?
Yes.
He wasn't really clear in the communication style, but he gave me a key word, and I can ask him a question. Here's the key word, hesitation. So I'm going to use his name, which is Simon. I want to put a comma behind it. I'm going to use his name, put a comma, which will anchor the rest of the statement that's going to end with a question, and it's going to be that word. So Carolyn just did that. She just gave you an example. I called on her. She just did that. She just got uncomfortable in her body, just like she did right then. Hold on, right? She will tend, if I would call her in a live event, she will tend to cross her legs autonomically without, and I can see it in the corner of my eye, and she will do that because it represents a past event. But what she's learned from me is she now can catch it in 1 or 2 seconds. And she will use my name to answer the question. That's why I keep suggesting, use my name when you answer the question. That way you won't check out. So if I say, Carolyn, what would you like to ask me? And she says, Jeff, what I'd like to ask you is, see, she just bought the 3 to 8 seconds back that she usually gives to feeling bad. Right, you got it?
Yes.
So in that 3 to 8 seconds, in combat you'd be dead, right? In a sport you'd be toast.
Yes.
Because the opponent would be past you, right? This is why you have to learn not to laugh at everything that you say, because you're gone. The moment is gone. If you're going to be a business owner, you have to be able to adapt quickly to a situation like this. Just like he was teaching you as a Marine, that is called a reflex. You have to have a reflex to sell. If you don't have the reflex to sell, you will not close a sale. You have to be able to spot an opportunity like this. And you also have to learn when to stop talking. There was a woman Friday night who walked up to my table and she was, I'm thinking about hiring you, but my husband would kill me. Key word, kill me. So I asked her a question about her husband. I said, would your husband really kill you? Here's what she said, not really. Now what can I do? I can close the sale now, right? So I just asked her that question, and then I let her stand there, and she started talking, didn't she?
Yes, yes.
And what did I do?
Listen.
I didn't say a single word, because here's what she eventually said. Let's do it. I
She closed herself.
Hold on, I didn't laugh. That's not a closed sale. She said, let's do it. That's about her and me. I don't want me in that equation. I said, let's do it, or you're hiring me. Then she mimicked what I taught her, which is what? I am hiring you. Get it?
Yes.
What'd you get?
Yeah. Put it on, make them own it, make it personal.
Right, I'm not gonna be part of that equation. I want her to own it.
Ask for a commitment.
Well, that's a refund waiting to happen. Everything that was going on in there was about her husband, what's gonna happen when she gets home. And then she can say, I talked her into it. See, I want her real clear that that was her decision and her commitment, so she would own it. You understand that? What are you receiving here, Daryl?
Jeffrey, I am receiving.
That was good.
I'm receiving on how to communicate better with other people.
Right. Closing, first of all, is a contradiction because you don't really close, you open.
Right.
And the more you learn how to open, the more you can close. And the more you learn how to set up the close, the better you get.
Ask fact-finding questions.
Well, there's three kinds of questions. There's fact-finding, there's rapport building, and there's small talk. And I covered in great detail in my 10 CD set on asking. So once you understand how to ask a question in 5 to 15 words, especially how to ask in a sequence. Once you master the sequence, it's like marching. It's like, so the Marines march, don't they? You know what the most common marching song that the military uses? I don't know what I've been told, sound off. Well, there's a cadence to that, right? So the cadence is also the sequence. So once you have mastered the sequence of how to ask a question, and then you can adapt to answers. So you learn there's a sequence of how you adapt to. So Simon said hesitation, didn't he?
Yes.
So I'm going to say Simon, like I told you, Simon, comma anchors my question. Simon, what does hesitation mean? Or I can ask any question around that one key point. And then that way I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to get to his problem. Then I'm going to provide a solution. Once I expose the problem, provide a solution, now what can I do? Close the sale. Close the sale. So the people that we encounter that are our prospects, no matter what we're doing, most of the people we encounter have poor health. Would you agree?
Yes.
Why?
They don't respect
Well,
themselves.
they're Americans, aren't they? Isn't that a part of it?
Or habits.
Americans have constantly, for the last 60, 80 years have done what?
Eat junk food.
Consume trans fat. They've been absolutely blitzed with advertising on food laden with sugar. We grew up, we started eating cereal early, didn't we? So what did eating cereal do to us? We started drinking Coca-Colas, Pepsi-Colas, sodas. In Chicago they call it what?
Pop.
Pop.
It's not even sugar anymore. It's
Right.
high fructose.
Right.
It's even worse.
So you have to factor that most of society has health challenges. A large percent of the society also has vocation challenges. They're in an unrewarded vocation. They're in a vocation that no longer serves them. They're underpaid, underappreciated. So that's another key component. So if you're going to build a real estate force or a real estate team, factor that many of the people that you're going to recruit, or you're going to build a network marketing business, many of the people you're going to recruit are in an unrewarding vocation, and they're looking for rewards, right?
Yep.
They're looking for recognition, money, and then a large percent of the population also has money reasons. A large percent of their money reasons are unsecured debt, liability debt. Then there's a percentage of the population wants to create a multiple stream of income. These people are going to have the highest probability of being successful because someone who already has a stream of income looking for another one has some of the skills. Understand?
Yes.
Means that they have business skills. So most of the people that we encounter have an employee mindset. What's that a recipe for? What's that a recipe for? Most of the people we encounter have an employee mindset. What does that mean? It's a recipe that most of them won't stay around long enough to learn a new set of skills because of IG, instant gratification. They're conditioned to get paid for 2 weeks. Real estate is a long-term game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Real estate, internet marketing, network marketing, you typically don't get instant gratification, right? But you have to build the compounded effect. However, if done properly and done over a long period of time, and the skills are created, what can happen?
Great reward.
Well, that's where you get the quantum leap. The quantum leap is where the sum becomes greater than whole of parts. That's where you've gone through a few years of incubation. You've had challenges through a few years. Then it's like the combination lock. On the combination lock, there's usually 3 sets of numbers, right? 37, 3 right. 17, 2 left. 61 R once. Then what happens? Well, what happens? What's the mechanics in this?
Open.
Ah, that's correct. There's a good locksmith for you. What does that mean? The law of alignment. What happens? That was good. A tumbler. What's a tumbler?
Gears.
It's the gears come together so that then you hear a sound, click, cha-ching. Right? So you hear that sound, that's when it comes together. Are you ready for that year, Carolyn?
I'm ready, Jeffrey.
You had to think about it a second, didn't you? Are you ready, Denise?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Ready.
Are you ready, Carolyn?
Jeffrey, I'm ready.
Well,
Absolutely.
good word, isn't it? Now, the word absolutely and unequivocally are what kind of words? Definite. That means there's no what?
Ambiguity, doubt.
Yeah, there's no backing out. Is this your year?
It absolutely is.
Yeah, see, now there's, that's where we got a mimic effect, right? What did she say? Right, so and absolutely requires more inflection. I have to read in radio and television, so I learned the phonetic alphabet when I was 19 years old. On your tongue are 7 spots, glottals and diphthongs, and that's how we enunciate. And then when you put the proper tone in it, which is 38% of how we connect, people can hear and feel us. It's a whole different level of prism. Just say absolutely.
Absolutely.
Use your hands and say it.
Absolutely.
Now say unequivocally.
Unequivocally.
Now practice these 2 words. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
Now practice these 2 words. Ching-ching.
Ching-ching.
I actually have recorded the sound of a cash register, the old cash register, and I have it in a recording. Some of you have heard it, right?
Yes.
I will play it back and forth at a live event so that becomes auto-suggestion. You remember Joe Montana?
Yeah.
Remember him? Now, he had a significant move that he created after a touchdown pass. Do you remember it?
No.
And he was very calm, cool, and quiet about it. He walked back to the bench like he'd been there before. What was his nickname? Cool Joe. Cool Joe. Joe Cool, right? Because he was what?
Cool. That's the other side of the pillow.
Yes, cool as the other side of the pillow. That's what you require to be this year, right? Excitement's overrated. Motivation's overrated. Inspiration is underrated. Inspiration is a cool, quiet, calm energy that doesn't require a lot of recognition. A task well done is good enough. You'll get recognition from the results you create. I see people, they crave being on the stage. They crave being on the stage more than they crave the results. I'm going to be on that stage. I'm going to be on that stage. Why?
Well, isn't it what being on the stage, sorry, Jeffrey, isn't it what being on the stage brings them?
Not from that point. When someone is more consumed with being on stage, they're less consumed with the result. You would be the kind of person that would rather be on the stage. What would be you? You'd be, just the way you asked the question, told the whole story. You had to defend the point. Get it?
Well,
You
just
get
the
it.
opposite.
Do you get it?
I do get it.
Okay, good. Then don't talk anymore. See if you can just receive the rest of the day. Got it?
I got it.
Good. Thank you. Did he get it this time?
Yes, he did.
It's your partner. He got his ass handed to him, didn't he?
So,
See if you can practice this as you go out of here today. See if you can be less sensitive. What does that mean?
Don't get emotional.
See if you can be less defensive. What does that mean?
Don't take it personally.
Take the emotional out of it.
Right. See if you can get the message. What does that mean?
Receive.
Right.
listen better.
Right.
Like,
See if you can produce silently. being on stage for many people is important. But when people are more concerned with being on stage, they're more concerned with the recognition than they are the result. So I can tell in seconds when someone's like, oh my God, I'm going to be on stage. They're not going to produce shit is what's going to happen. Because they're so excited in their energy to get recognized, because they never got recognized in their life, that they're not going to get a result. That their energy will be dead about Tuesday. Because they are excited. Excitement's good. But excitement in a game, what happens?
Burnout.
Mistakes get made in excitement. Because they get that kind of personality gets over hyper, and that kind of personality also gets disappointed easily. That's usually the first person who quits. The most excited person is usually the first person who quits. What are you receiving from me today, Ellen? My first name
Yes.
is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you doing, Ellen?
I'm receiving today that if I work on, there's a system of things that I can work on to achieve my goal.
And if you have a system, and you follow your system over and over, and it becomes discipline, you have a much higher probability of attaining a result. Fair?
Yes.
So that means that you, all of us, require this dedicated blocks of time. What would that be, Denise, that you should be dedicating your blocks of time in your profession?
AIC.
Okay, so right. So all professions have certain application, don't they?
Correct.
So in real estate, what are 3 key situations that you must have discipline in? Let's give us a number.
1, 2, 3. The ask in chair is a big one.
Okay, so let's call that prospecting, right? That's my acronym. I own that. Ask and chair. I'm in the process of branding that AIC.
That's
Ask and
awesome.
chair. And there's more to it than ask and chair. What it really means is it means, here's what this means to me. Ask and chair means a centralized location to produce results from. But I see a lot of people they're all over the map. They don't produce from a centralized location where they can focus.
So answer and return phone calls. Right? That's the ask and chair for us.
Typically, this should be an office in your home or office you rent, or wherever it is. There should be about 10 square feet where you spend a lot of your time.
Even if it's the car, it's doing it.
Well, it's once again, it doesn't matter whether it's a car. I mean, metaphorically, it's an office. But there should be a place centralized where you do business from, a lot of your business, about 80% of it, at least. So I have two different models I operate. I operate Sunday through Thursday, and then my schedule changes typically Thursday night to Sunday. I'm in my office on Sunday. I get home on Sunday or Saturday night. So I'm in my office on Sunday. And Thursday night I leave because my profession requires travel. Specifically what I do now. But a large percent of my time is also spent at my desk or in my office using a telephone to create volume. A volume of calls, a volume of money, a volume of connections. So there's the law of large numbers. What's that mean? The law. So many people will say it's a numbers game. No, it's not a numbers game. You have to understand, in the law of numbers, the law of averages. You may have heard this statement, make up in skills, make up in habits what you lack in skills. It's all great. But this is the only place where you get the skills. The skills that are required are how to ask a question effectively, how to answer a question effectively, how to listen so you can hear what is meant, not said. And that way you don't get attached to the outcome. Oh, I found this great property. You ever heard this? Oh, he's rolling his eyes. I hear it every day. I found this great person.
Yeah, worse than that, I found a great deal. Nice. Found a house.
What is right?
It's not a deal.
What happens to the rookie real estate investor that gets overexcited?
He focuses on that one thing and leaves everything else away.
So that's what also happens to the average network marketer
Right.
that finds this one person that's going to be real good.
You must let go.
The kiss of death is when you find someone that's going to be what?
All-star producer.
Oh, I found
The
this.
one deal that's gonna make you all the money. Same thing.
It's in my book on procrastination, big deal chasing. I'm a recovering big deal chaser. My motto is big hat, no cattle. I have a big hat and no cattle. Someday, someday. And I was going to make enough money that I was going to do things for my parents so we could all come together. I got a real dose of reality the first year I did create some income. And I gave my father a $1,000 check for Christmas and gave people in my family a $1,000 check. Some of them were actually offended.
They didn't want to receive your money.
No, not at all, because it came from me. It was a real lesson in money. It was a very good understanding. That was the last time I went home for Christmas. How are we doing here this afternoon?
Great.
How you doing, Miguel?
Good. I've been thinking how I'm going to prepare myself to answer your question, what I've been receiving. It's squishing the nuts. Because I'm having it's a lot of things I realize I've been doing or haven't been doing, and it's kind of hard to hear in some respects.
Understood. What are you receiving today?
I'm receiving a different point of view.
Anyone else?
Jeff,
That was good.
I'm taking away that my frequency is what I'm going to attract. And my question to you is, how can I change my frequency to get to this consciousness? Do you have any,
Yes, I do.
other than books? I mean, I get the book part, I have a list now. But,
To change your frequency, you specifically would put some energy into changing your voice. You've been conditioned that children are to be seen and not heard. So that would just begin to change your frequency. So one of the situations you can practice on is using your diaphragm rather than talking up here. A large percent of society speaks from right here because they have to be quiet, they might make a mistake, and most importantly, they might get noticed. So just changing being able to speak from here. So Crystal can even give you an exercise or two before we leave on how to strengthen your diaphragm. But you learn to speak from here, you change the way you speak in your feet. Most people speak like this, they're flat-footed. So their feet are like this, that's like this, and their body's like this. Which there's no energy that comes out. But when you move your feet, like if you're going to shoot a weapon, lead with your non-dominant foot. Your left foot, your right. So now you're open to receive. So if anyone approaches you, you can just go like this. If you're flat-footed and someone asks you a question, here's what happens. So when you come from anxiety of making a mistake, you'll continue to attract people that fulfill that, or you'll avoid the situation completely. So your energy also will come from letting go of controlling failure. Letting go of control of disappointment. That changes our energy. If you've been conditioned to behave, not to make a mistake, you'll do that. You'll avoid mistakes. It means you will procrastinate. You'll keep getting ready to get ready, and you will have no energy. The energy we're talking about is emotional, etheric energy. That's white light energy, the kind that attracts. Also, to be able to change what you attract, to change your words. Be very clear on what you seek to attract. Either write it down, take a picture of it, whatever it is you want to do, but start to magnetize it to you. Here's an exercise we all can do. Money magnetism. How many of you ever had money come to you mysteriously? Is that yes?
Yes.
Yes.
What would happen if we were able to do that more frequently?
We have more money.
Right. So shouldn't you start to practice that?
Yes.
The
Yes.
art of ease. Is that right?
yes.
Jeffrey, we have interesting experiences like that all the time. We need to raise more money.
We need to, or
We want to raise more money.
we are. I am.
We are good at raising money.
We are.
Right. Good. Right. So right.
It's time to raise money.
So here's your affirmation.
Right.
Money comes to me easily
Easily.
and effortlessly because of the person I am.
And when we do that, and we decide this is what we're going to focus on. The phone usually rings without us having put the message out in any physical manner.
One of them should be open. Money
Money
comes
shows
to me easily and effortlessly because of the person I am becoming.
It's an interesting phenomenon.
It shows up everywhere. You pull up to a restaurant and there's a space right there for you, right? Right?
Yes.
Or you notice that there's valet parking when in the old days you were too cheap to use valet parking, right? Because time is what?
Money.
Time is money. Affirmation means to affirm. So be consciously aware of what you're affirming. So with your voice, Katja, speak up. One of the ways you can raise your vibration is tonight when you go home, take a towel, fold it over, and then fold it over again. Take the corner of it, bite on it, and yell into it as loud as you can. You will begin to find your voice. Also, you may cry while you're doing that because you may tap into the rage and resentment that you've stuffed where you have no voice. If you'll do this occasionally, your voice will change because you have not given yourself permission to be heard. How many of you do not have this as a product, these affirmation cards? How many do not have this? These are my best products, $20. This will assist you to change your words. They're all written in present tense. I started writing these down myself, and then eventually I just put them in these cards back in 2003. The first deck I ever bought was a deck called The Game of Life and How to Play It. One of the best cards in that deck was I cast the burden to the Christ within. What does that mean? What does that mean? I cast the burden to the Christ within. What is
Acceptance.
Right?
You let go.
Right, you let go. What does that mean to let go?
Be free of it. Don't let it control you.
But I might make a mistake, so what am I holding on to?
Don't worry about it.
What am I holding on to if I might make a mistake?
Fear of
Control. Well, where did the result, where did that come from? How does that happen?
Fear of failure.
Conditioning.
What conditioning?
Not good.
It's the cause and effect.
I'm worried I might get in trouble. How many of you are worried you might get in trouble? That's a very common commonality.
Disappointing.
Right, so if that's my identity, what am I going to continue to do over and over to fulfill a biochemical craving that I have created?
That is what's familiar.
I'm either going to avoid it or I'm either going to create it. I'm either going to avoid the failure or I'm going to create the failure. That's what's going to happen when you start to magnetize failure. Then you just get to do what all day?
Being down.
Feel bad. Which leads to depression, anxiety, overwhelmed feelings, etc. Right? It's low vibration. Anxiety is what creates a very low vibration. So we stay in control of our control to be controlling our control while we're out of control, controlling our control. That is exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which affects the adrenal system.
Yeah, share something.
You bet.
That illustrates that point. My dad's 85. When we go driving, I'm still the child, even though I'm 55. He's telling me I drive too fast. He's always looking for police officers. Now, this usually happens when we're driving his red two-door Cadillac. That's a very eyeball car. I tell him, I don't care about the cops because I can talk my way out of a lot of tickets, and I've done it. And he's always looking for police officers. Guess what? When we're driving, we always find a lot of police officers because he's looking for them. When I drive 80, 90 miles an hour, I never find them.
Because you don't attract it, right? But he has anxiety about what?
Police.
Well, more than that, making a mistake.
Following the rules.
More importantly, getting in trouble. It's good, isn't it, that you understand this?
Jeffrey, can you explain what the adrenal system is? What does it do?
Tell them.
Your adrenal system is your fight or flight, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that's what taps into. So the
Yes.
the book Jeffrey alluded to, The Game of Life and How to Play It, Florence Shin, was the most amazing book I've ever read in my life. It literally changed my life. I read it all in an afternoon. It talks about fear and faith.
Yeah.
So when you operate like we're any situation, Jeff can break down for any of you guys and go right back to what is this? This was fear of making a mistake. This was getting
Tell them
in
what the
trouble.
adrenal system
So the
is.
adrenal gland's constantly on. it's producing this stress, the cortisol
Stress hormone.
constantly on. It never can relax because you can never relax. Because whether you stuff your feeling or anything, you're always suppressing it. It's always still running in the background.
What's adrenal fatigue mean?
Adrenal fatigue, your body's just shutting down. It can't even operate.
It means if you're in your head and you live there, that's what will create adrenal fatigue because of how much you process, how much worry you have.
Jeffrey, I terminalize it as an internal burden.
Well, right, because you're
It won't
internalizing.
It won't stop, just
So people who worry about worry typically have adrenal fatigue, and they typically will use pharmaceutical medication or alcohol to desensitize their feelings so they're not in that same kind of fatigue.
Is it in your head? Where is
It
it?
sits on top of your pancreas. It's a little tiny thing.
It's a gland.
Yes, a little tiny gland on top of your pancreas. And yeah, most people, and then when you drink more caffeine and you keep going, your adrenals just get shot. They don't know how to operate on their own anymore. So your body really doesn't know how to operate on its own because you're constantly in fight or flight. If you can begin to trust yourself and have the trust factor that Jeff is talking about and say, oh, instead of, oh, I already knew that, why did I do that? You begin to operate just being, trusting yourself rather than doing, and then you become a human being, not a human doing. And then you can start to operate in peace like I now.
And where were you when I met you last May? Where were you?
I was,
Where were you that first phone call?
Jeff, I was in total despair and in the downward spiral of depression. What I explained to Jeffrey was that I felt as that I looked good, but inside I was dying. I knew, I understood personal development and
you were married at the time.
I was married at the time. And I shared with Jeff, Jeff asked me, what are your goals for 2013, Crystal? And I said, I don't know. And he said something back to me that I'll never forget. He says, undefined. And how I took that as an athlete and a competitor and was, what the, WTF, undefined? And I said, I don't understand why I'm not defined. And we talked about it, and I said, I got married. He said, congratulations. I said, no, not really. I said, you want to tell me more about that? And I said, sure. So we went through a process, and Jeff and I broke it down, and it comes down to my parents, both my mom and my dad. It comes down to a lot of life experiences, but I know, and I knew with talking with Jeff that he was my coach. I hired him. I had never met him before. I hired him on the phone, and I knew that it was time for me to change. It was time.
Plus, you had no value, no monetary value. She was coaching and not getting what she deserved from it.
Yeah.
So I showed her how to be able to attract clients through Skype, anywhere in the world. Now people are hiring you for what, 4 figures?
Correct.
4 figures. And
Yes.
every week you tell me what?
To close another sale.
For how much?
Or $1,000.
$1,000 or more. So it takes the same effort to close for $100 as it does $1,000. Does it take the same effort to sell a $4 million home than it does a $400,000 home?
It does.
I have a client, his name is David. David is a recovering actor. Sackler. David never made more than $100,000 a year as an actor, but he had a great resume of shows he was on. He was on a Showtime original where he played John Glenn for 13 episodes a few years ago. He is friends with a lot of people. Jeremy Renner is a very good friend of his, but he never could really monetize acting. But he always had real estate skills. 2 years ago, his uncle, who owns a real estate firm in Atherton, do you know where that is?
By Stanford.
Yes, right. It's right by Stanford. It's in Palo Alto, it's right next to Palo Alto. And it's a very, very small area. 2 years ago, David sold his name is David Kelsey, $32 million in real estate. 30 of it to one guy.
One house.
Two.
2 houses.
2 houses to one Japanese billionaire. Last year, he sold $62 million in real estate. He's in a niche market. He's a niche realtor. Now, the average realtor doesn't sell that kind of real estate, do they? He was a skilled realtor. Now, in real estate, when he lived in Pasadena, he was doing $350,000, but his dream was acting. But at 50 years old, he realized he wasn't going to achieve it there. He went back to his niche, and this is what he's done the last couple of years. He also spent his time dabbling in network marketing. But if he finally got serious and found a niche in real estate, he gets 1% of that. That's pretty good, isn't it? He gets whatever he gets in that 1.5%. What if he gets 1.5% of that? What does that equal?
About 10 million.
No, it wouldn't be that.
So 1.5.
600,000,
Yeah,
about $5 million.
That's a million, not 10 million.
Yeah, that's correct, right? That's a pretty good year for selling to one client, isn't it?
Very good.
That same client was also part of the 62 million. That's the DC, the dream client, isn't it? We all want that.
He's a habitual purchaser.
That's good, isn't it? That's a good term.
And he's probably going to list the house to sell it when the guy's ready to sell it.
He's got money to get rid of.
Exactly. What does that mean? Money to get rid of. What does that mean?
He has more money than he requires.
How many of you have ever been on 17 Mile Drive?
Now I've heard of it.
You ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it's up on Carmel.
You been on it?
Yeah.
What would you say about that?
It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful coastline up in Northern California. And a lot of very affluent people own extremely nice houses up there. And that's an understatement.
So you can take this word out of your money vocabulary, expensive. If it's expensive, does that exclude you? It does, doesn't it? When you're using, oh, it's really expensive. See if you can use this word more frequently in your money language. Profit. What does that mean? Profit. Profit. Is that a key word for you?
Yes.
In your money talk, see if you can use this term. Transaction. What does that word mean?
In exchange of good and green.
Money moves. Where do you want it to move to? Me. Why?
That's better than all the other ones.
Now, money is very invisible, isn't it? There isn't a lot of tangible money anymore, is there? No. I sinned recently, I relapsed, and I had a Dr. Pepper. God, it was good. In a glass with ice. I bring this to your attention. I put a $5 bill in the machine, and it all came out in quarters. But I've seen so little money lately that I realized those aren't quarters. Those are dollar coins now. Did you know there's a dollar coin?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
That's right. But money has changed a lot since 1932. What happened in 32?
Went off the gold Federal Reserve notes and changed
Right.
it for gold.
And those notes used to say right here. You know what it said right there? Payable. Here's what it said. Payable to bearer on demand. Prior to 32, all money was worth what? 100%.
You know the story about the Wizard of Oz and that?
Go ahead and share it. I do know part of it.
The Wizard of Oz is actually about the money exchange. It was
Right.
a sly way of putting out there to the public what we were going to back our money with: gold, emeralds.
And
there's
the whole-
one other one, and it's all about that.
It ain't Kansas anymore. Dorothy, this is not Kansas. And who was the Wizard of Oz?
And the reality
Man
is,
behind the
the
curtain.
man behind the curtain.
With the megaphone.
Wizard.
Man behind the curtain.
What did it represent, the government?
Yes.
The Federal
The
Reserve.
Federal Reserve.
And who is the Federal Reserve? I could say it under 3 hours on this whole
Right,
situation.
yeah.
The enlightened ones. Or is it, or no,
Appointed.
the top part.
Well, the enlightened ones, okay, now, the term enlightened ones changes now, because enlightened now becomes the Illuminati.
Illuminati.
And who are the Illuminati?
For the ones watching over?
Well, but who are they really?
Freemasons.
Well, but who is it? Well, there's more to that than that.
Society.
No, there's a bloodline. If you really want to do your history, there's a bloodline of families that have a connection. Now, how far should I go in about 5 minutes and then wrapping up? What do you want to know about 5 minutes about what I've studied for 25 years?
As much as you
Just
can.
the facts.
A lot.
All right, so here's some content you can start to read that will enlighten you. Protocols of Zion, you've read it?
I have not read the entire thing.
It's in public domain, written in 1906, Protocols of Zion. And then if you want to trace these organizations, the Bilderberg Group, Trilateral Commission, and the House of Foreign Relations. And then there's a place where a lot of recruiting goes on at Yale University. Yale University, there's a society called the Skull and Crossbones, which is where all the hierarchy of the CIA and many presidents have come from that particular situations. Right, and his sons. Jed, so many people come from Yale University. Almost every head of the CIA has come from Yale University, Skull and Crossbones. But to really take it to the next level is these bloodlines are a series of families who've been connected. In the kingdoms were created through marriages, weren't they? How many of you ever watched The Tudors or know anything about the Tudors? The Tudors had a reign of about 106 years where they married each other, they married off to form alliances through Scotland, England, and Ireland. It's fascinating on how this all gets created. So there's a whole bloodline of people that typically end up controlling the banking industry. Now, why is that important to us entrepreneurs?
Yeah, money.
Right, so it's not the Freemasons, because overall the Freemasons, which is also his Shriners, actually do a lot of charitable good, don't they? But it's not the Freemasons, it's the hierarchy of the Freemasons. The hierarchy of the Freemasons are called the Illuminati. They are called the enlightened ones in that culture. Did you ever see that movie Eyes Wide Shut?
Yes.
Enemy of the State. Did you ever see that?
Yes.
The one with Mel Gibson, where there was a good one with Mel Gibson, where he was also, that's another conspiracy movie. So, if you want to read a book so you can really understand, here's one of the best books that you could read. It is called Creature from Jekyll Island. You know who wrote that?
No.
It's a friend of mine, Ed Griffin. Ed Griffin writes a book on the history of the Federal Reserve, and it reads like fiction. It is fascinating. Now, Ed is in his 70s. He's not as controversial as he used to be. He's had his trials and tribulations with the government. He also is very, very skilled at cancer research and how to overcome cancer homeopathically, which can get you killed in today's world, can't it? What'd you see me watching back there, Simon? You saw me watching...
Unbelievable stuff.
I was watching videos on how to rid yourself of viruses.
Yeah.
And how there's certain concoctions that you can make that when put on your skin, the virus comes out of your skin and you can feel it. A lot of those viruses creates a disease called Morgellon disease, which is a nebulous disease that the AMA doesn't recognize and won't treat you for. They'll tell you nothing is wrong with you. They'll tell you you are crazy. So the more you understand what goes on here, here's the status quo. Here's who creates the rules. You better play right here, right? This is called between the veil. You and I aren't going to do a lot to affect change there, are we?
No.
We can definitely change our mindset, can't we?
Yes.
And we can affect change with those who come into our circle of influence by the person we are becoming. And you can do this without ever lifting a rifle. And with that, I want to thank Daryl and Imran for having me here for 2 days. I want to thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.